Hey guys, it's been about 5 months since I picked this phone up, the Galaxy Fold 3, and I kind of just wanted to do a quick review of my impressions of it. I don't have that sweet, tripod stand that I had last time, so unfortunately it's going to be kind of a shaky video, but just bear with me. So I would say that I really enjoyed this device, but as a phone, it kind of became a little bit more, I guess, frustrating to use, not because it's a slow phone or a bad phone. It's just, it's too fucking big. And in my pot, like, I went, got this expecting it, but it's just like, I don't want to have to, okay, so look, like every pair of pants, maybe aside from these, because they're actually pretty decent with deep sized pockets. So this would be okay if I were to walk around in these pants, right? But every other pair of pants that doesn't have deep pockets, essentially this thing just slides out really quickly. And I had a case on it. I had an S Pen case, but it honestly just felt like one of those brick phones from the early 1990s or like the late 1980s. Like, it was that thick, and I was like, I don't want to be carrying around something like this. So I did also pick up some scratches on the device. So these are from just literally things like sliding out of my pocket. See the chip there, and then pretty big one in the corner. Like, when I would get in my car, they would pretty much just slide out and fall down. And yeah, where else did I get damage to the device? But yeah, I got like a little kind of crack on the front anyway. But so something that, I guess, I talked about a lot of positives in the first review, and there are a lot of positives that retain, but after the novelty wears off, and I didn't expect myself to really feel this way about this either, but after the novelty wears off, it kind of just is like an everyday kind of phone. And something I missed randomly was just iMessage and being able to FaceTime. Like, yeah, sure, Android has alternatives, but that's guaranteed on if somebody else is going to respond. And actually not respond if somebody's going to download, like, Google's variant of this app. Whereas, because like my mom is not going to know how to download Google Allo or whatever, or Google Duo, and for video calls, she just knows FaceTime. You know what I mean? So it's like, I kind of miss, having the ability to FaceTime and things like that. So I'm actually back on my iPhone SE. And I would say that for practicality and kind of what I want on my phone, the iPhone SE does it, and it's the second generation one, and does a great job with it. And this phone, like, it's hard to put into words what this phone is good for. And so another thing that kind of turned me off to the phone too was that so because this aspect ratio it's not necessarily a 16:9 screen, apps kind of play funny in it. So let's play RuneScape real quick and see how it looks. And hopefully you guys can kind of just see what I'm talking about, where the graphics just look really bad. And now obviously RuneScape doesn't have the best graphics, but you guys will see kind of what I mean if you play. So it's just like, it like looks good, but you see the characters, like, you see how they just look terrible. This is max settings, by the way. And so it isn't, of course, like overall it's not horrible, but details like the characters, they just kind of get ruined because it has to stretch to this weird aspect ratio. Sorry, my Henry's right there. Yeah, I mean, so like, look, I'm gonna do a little fucking, I don't have any inventory room. Okay. So it's like, it's not horrible, right? Like, it looks pretty decent, but it's just like it's hard to pick it up on camera. But there's this sort of just, there's like this blur in front of everything. There's like everything, all the textures, they're like choppy looking. And these are max settings, you know, and I expect on like a $2,000 phone to not really have to deal with it. And it's not horrible. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't look, it's not so terrible that it's unusable and just, you know, like the worst thing ever. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's not the end of the world, but it could definitely just be better is kind of what I'm getting at. Like, you know, and it's because of this weird aspect ratio that it pretty much just, it's pretty much just frustrating. I think honestly, like this is what I'm talking about. See, like it's so glitchy looking, and this is personal preference. And you know, it's not this. It's up to developers pretty much just to update their apps to be able to not look so pretty much terrible in this. But yeah, so I can do that. I'm gonna play like some old school too. So one thing that's actually kind of cool is the old school Runescape beta. There's a new beta version that's super high def. This will actually maybe give you some contrast to show you how graphics can look. Keep in mind this is a pretty old game, but and so this is what I actually like playing on as like a small tablet. Oh, my bad. Whoops. Yeah, so boom, 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 boom. Okay. So like, look, see, there isn't any like fuzz around it, if that makes sense. So it is possible for, you know, the apps to be cleaned up. So it's not necessarily that, you know, this is always the case with every single app, but it did take a while for apps to somewhat adjust like this. And yeah, and it's okay, but it's just kind of like, this is a great small tablet, if I'm being honest. Like, it's just like, this is a good for a small tablet. And it's what I use it for. Like, I'll use it to play old school RuneScape in bed because I have my iPad. But the toss up with the iPad is old school doesn't have the best graphics, and then the graphics aren't as good as they are on my MacBook Pro over there. So I actually got my stuff from Full Sail, the school I'm going to. It's pretty sweet. I got like a MacBook Pro and speakers and a MIDI keyboard and sound processing box, 2 microphone stands, like a ton of stuff, doing audio production. But yeah. So one thing I can say I did like the battery life. Something you want to do though is you want to get a charger with an extra long, like 10-foot cable, because once you have that, you're pretty much set. So that's cool. I guess a lot of people said that this is unusable. It's not unusable. It doesn't feel it just doesn't feel good in the hand. Like it doesn't feel cheap, but it feels poorly designed, and it's, you know, not poorly designed because it's a foldable phone, but I don't ever want to use the phone like this. You know, I'd never have sat here and thought, wow, I want to use my phone like this in portrait mode. And if I have, it's pretty thick. Like, here's a Nintendo Switch, right? So for sake of thickness comparison, that is it next to a Nintendo Switch. You know, it's like pretty damn close. And that, obviously it has another screen on the inside, but you know, when I'm gonna be using this phone, it's gonna be when I'm driving and trying to respond to a text and like I can't really sit and just like do all this shit when I'm trying to drive. Like I shouldn't do it, but the reality is like sometimes I have to reply to stuff and at stoplights and stuff, and so it's kind of just it's a little bit irritating. Another thing too is this is kind of weird, but I find myself putting my hand on the finger thing and it just vibrates the phone. It feels super weird when I try to move it around. So this phone is just, it almost feels like it needs to be, I don't know if the folding technology is the way it's going to go. To be honest, I've seen the rolling tech, and I think the rolling screen idea is what's going to hold out in the long run. Just because you avoid having the insanely thick device that you pay $2,000 for. Yeah, so one thing I really do like about this is I love YouTube videos, and I love how the sound resonates all around the sides when I'm like looking at it. That's been really nice. The quality with the YouTube videos has been really nice. So really the only thing is just the frustration with gaming and the kind of the amount of space it takes up, and then just missing kind of some features that I had on my iPhone. But so overall, and sorry, the device is very clean, guys. It's not a bad phone by any means. And if you really do want to try a folding phone out, I'd say go for it. Because if you are looking for a folding phone and you don't mind a little bit of weight to your, device, and you don't really care about, having to use the front screen while you're doing stuff, then you know what? I'd say it's pretty solid. Like it's not the end of the world. And oh yeah, did I just film that whole thing upside down? Oh yeah.